Hey, welcome to course 2. So in this module we'll be talking about how to prompt Lovable correctly, and I'll share some tips and tricks that I've used to create some client products, and we'll also be discussing the visual editing and also the planning tool, and then we'll be building out the remaining core features or the must-have features for our PRD generator, and then I'll just show you how to change the favicon and remove the edit with lovable badge that's always displayed in the preview page. So let's just go ahead and dive in. So this is what we built in the first course, just a simple chat page, and then we can prompt it to create an application, and then it will basically use OpenAI to then generate text for this specific application. So it's trying to display some text here. However, there seems to be an issue. So we can then go into our Lovable project, and again, with prompting, it's best to be hyper-specific. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and say, under the requirements section, which is this section, it is displaying this error. It is not displaying the text generated by, I'm assuming it's using ChatGPT, but I'll just say LLM for now, and instead it is displaying this. Now this is somewhat specific. You can also specify what page it's on, so it's in the editor page, and what we can do also is we can use the chat method here, and we can then go ahead and say, please provide 5 solutions to fix this issue. Then we'll just go ahead and click enter. So the reason why I'm asking chat mode for 5 different solutions is that if the first solution does not work, we can always restore back to before we try to implement that first solution, and then we can try the second solution. And we basically keep doing this until one of these solutions works. So right now, when you use chat mode, it doesn't actually implement changes. All it does is it gives you a plan, and as you can see, it's provided our 5 different solutions here. So we'll just wait for it to finish, and then we'll implement the first one. Okay, so we can see here it is providing a recommendation, which is to implement both the first solution and the fourth solution. So it will just go ahead and click implement the plan here. Now, another tip is essentially when you're prompting the agent, you do not want to give it multiple tasks per prompt. I would only provide it with one specific task per prompt. If you give it 3 or 4 tasks to do, it will just, in my experience, it won't do anything. It just overthinks it, and it doesn't get anything done. So just give it one task to do per prompt and be very specific. Okay, let's just verify that the issue has been solved. We'll go ahead and create our PRD document, and yeah, it looks like it's fixed our issue, whereas before it showed that object error. Now we're seeing a bullet point of requirements for our dating app, which are somewhat generic, but again, for this, for now, it's fine. Now, I know I mentioned before we can be very specific in our prompts. Now, another method is to actually click on this visual edits button here, and let's say we wanted to modify or update a specific section of this web page, and let's just go ahead and click here. Now you can then ask Lovable in here in this text box and just say, let's use a different icon at the beginning of the sentence, and just click enter, and I will then update the icon here. So again, this is just a feature that Lovable provides to allow you to essentially just use your cursor and select whatever section of the web page you want to update or modify. So you can see that it's updated the icon. Okay, so let's use another prompting method, which is actually speech to text, which is this little icon here at the bottom. Now, let's say I want to change the main color or the main theme color of this application. So let me just click on this button here. Please change the main color theme of this application to a more friendly color. And we'll just click on that button again. And it's just done a quick speech to text, and I will click enter. Now, whilst it's doing that, I do want to mention another feature, which is called the knowledge base. So if you just go in settings here and then click on knowledge here, and essentially what this is let's say you have a specific set of font styles or colors or like some kind of naming conventions. You can add it into the knowledge base here, which means that every prompt you generate and enter in Lovable, it would look at the knowledge base to make sure it's considering your instructions here. So that's just a good to know. For example, you can say make it always mobile friendly. That way every prompt that executes, it will look at that instruction of making it mobile friendly. And yeah, it's just a very good to know. Okay, so we can see that it's changed our color, but let's just say that I don't like it and I'd like the previous one more. So what we can do is, this is our prompt that we just used. So let's go to here in our previous prompt, and we'll just click on this arrow here, and what will happen is we'll essentially go back to that point in time and we'll revert back to that prompt, and you can see that it will then change the color back to the previous point in time. Here we go, so it's no longer green. So that's the revert button, which is very useful. Now the other thing I want to mention is the favicon that you might want to change. So the favicon is essentially this icon right here on the top left. So where your browser tab is. So obviously we don't want to use the lovable favicon, so we'll just go ahead and say please update the favicon to a book. So it's asking me for a image file of the book icon or a URL. I'm going to just test it and see if it can find me an image. Can you find it for me? Okay, so let's republish our app again. So we just click on publish and then update, and that will then update our lovable URL here. And we'll just verify that the actual favicon has been updated. So let's see. It's still the lovable icon, however, it is still updating. So let's just refresh again. Yeah, so we can see here it's created a book favicon. It's not really visible, however, at least you're aware that you can change the favicon just by asking Lovable to do it, and you don't have to find an image. You can just ask Lovable to find it for you. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is this edit with Lovable here. So we want to remove that, and this is very easy to do. You just have to go into settings and then click on the hide lovable badge. And we'll just click on this to enable it. So after refreshing our page, you can see that the edit with Lovable feature is no longer there. Now when it comes to front-end design, if you do want to use components that are more aesthetic and that are just more appealing, then you can use two websites called, the first one is called 21st Dev and the second one is called Dribbble. Now the cool thing about these websites is that, let's say if we find a component that we really like, then all you have to do is click copy prompt here, and then we'll go ahead and copy this element into our lovable project. So let's just say place this component in the landing page, and then you just paste that component in. So as you can see, there's a wide range of components and effects such as backgrounds, borders, calls to action, and most of these are free. So yeah, if you do want to make your front end more aesthetically pleasing, then definitely check out 21st Dev and also Dribbble. So as you can see, it's just added this component in at the bottom here. Now keep in mind this may affect the loading times because it might be using an external library, so that's just worth considering. Always test the responsiveness, and yeah, it's just a good to know. And for now I'm going to restore because we won't be using these components. So that's it for this course. So just to recap, we covered a few prompting techniques and methods that I've used and that are really useful. We also mentioned about visual edits and how to restore to a previous prompt. And then we also discussed how to update your favicon and remove the edit with lovable feature. So I'll see you in the next course.